My brother Doug has often been an enigma to me. He was absolutely brilliant. I often told people that he missed 3 questions on the SAT, and he seemed to remember just about everything he read. And of course, he read more than most, except Anna, who was his match in so many ways. And so much of my life has been shaped by Doug. I could never be as smart as he was. So I chose sports to make my mark, even though I was never outstanding. And he showed me what the human brain is capable of and what I could strive for. And Doug spurred me on, motivated me, even though neither of us recognized that he gave me those gifts. And I tried to compete with him, even though he never noticed that's what I was doing. I even chose to get baptized when I was 9, partly because he hadn't chosen to do so, and I could have something over him with God. But Doug also gave me my triggers, those highly personalized buttons that people can push that'll unleash our lizard brain. My deepest self is inextricably connected to Doug, and I find myself strangely glad about that. Maybe I can be kinder to my demons if I consider their origin is from a man who turned out to be very kind. And it's hard for me, for all of my family, to understand how difficult life became for Doug after the company folded at which he had his dream job, and that job that took 50 years for him to find and create. And his stroke also compounded that difficulty, even though he had an amazing comeback from the stroke, which was probably aided by that beautiful brain of his. It makes it a little bit easier that when he died, he was happily working in spacey stuff, losing track of time, and forgetting to eat. It had taken until his 40s before he could finally visualize and own his deepest longing to be involved in space exploration, to the point that he went back to school as a mature student to get an undergraduate degree in aerospace engineering. And it was wickedly delightful to me that he had to actually work hard to pass those classes. He finally knew what it was like for the rest of humanity to learn. Although that might not be entirely fair, because he surely had faced difficulty in learning. Like when our father found that he'd completely taken apart the typewriter to learn how it worked, or when he coated our kitchen in wax while my parents were out for the evening during that brief window of time that he took an interest in making candles. His learning did occasionally come with some hardship. And yet it paid off for so many. He freely and generously helped his family and friends solve practical puzzles and complete mechanical and computer tasks to the degree that I'm not sure what to do without him. He taught Deborah how to install a garbage disposal and a dishwasher and how to put in a ceiling light, so at least we won't have to hire out for those tasks. But what about all the other future tasks that are impossible to predict, but for which Doug could surely help? And right now, I need to not have anything important break on me, because it will shine a horrible spotlight on how much I've lost and on how much the world has lost. Before COVID, Doug volunteered with a small organization to fix random broken things that random people needed fixed. But how on earth can we begin to fix the world that feels so broken without him? In our childhood, the times that Doug and I got along better was on Christmas Day. We both loved Christmas, from childhood through adulthood. We got good at giving gifts and making clever gift tags, and Doug was especially good at creative ways of wrapping presents. I love the photos of him hoisting me up on his shoulders to put our family's angel on top of the tree. As kids, it was inevitable that I was the first to wake up on Christmas morning, and then I'd wake up Doug, so we formed a team when we knocked on our parents' door. And one Christmas, I woke at 3 a.m. But Doug was game to get up too. The knock on the parents' door, though, was understandably rebuffed with, "Go back to bed!" But there was no getting back to sleep for Doug and me, so we played together amiably for 3 whole hours. And it's a 3-hour slice of time that I cherish with my entire heart. We were two kids getting along happily in anticipation of the joy that would soon unfold. And we also got along better on our family travels. We could sometimes find connection in mutual learning and exploration. Like the time that he and I were out well past dark on a paddle boat in Greece and we terrified my parents, or when we were exploring Roman ruins, or when we were sneaking into Cedar Point Amusement Park with our cousins. And by adulthood, we had become honest-to-goodness friends. We found an appreciative contentment in one another's company. And in 2016, we took our only 2 road trips together. That spring, when I wanted someone to drive back home with me from Southern California in my new mini camper, Doug happily volunteered, even though it wasn't great timing for him. We slept on the roof of my new-to-me Honda Element that would be named Nemo, sheltered by the canvas pop top, just like we had camped in our family's VW campers for our entire childhoods. And on that trip, we listened to podcasts, we chatted, and we investigated the nooks and crannies of my wonderful new car. We were no longer locked in youthful childhood combat. Those few days felt like a redemptive deepening of relationship. And I love the fact that Doug helped me mod the car later to become the perfect little mini camper. And in December that year, our family gathered at Doug and Anna's home in Texas for Christmas. Now, this was the closest I'd ever been to Big Bend National Park, and I didn't want to miss the chance for a visit. Doug was the only one who was up to do that adventure with me. I booked an Airbnb tent, and we took off, building in a visit to a relatively nearby observatory. And we again camped, and we hiked, and we took silly photos with dinosaur exhibits, and we experienced magnificent wildlife like a coyote confidently prancing straight at us on a lonely dirt road. And one of my favorite photos of Doug was taken on that trip. He has bedhead. He's emerging from the tent at dawn for a day of adventure with his sister. And for both of us night owls, getting up at dawn is only occasioned by something that will bring us delight. And in the photo, he's sporting his characteristically Doug-like smile. It's equally youthful, it's open, it's inviting and warm. And that smile is somehow guileless and impish at the same time. When we were kids and we were on a visit to the Rabels, Doug was fishing. And I'm not sure if this is the trip that he looked over the edge of the railing of the dock and neglected to pay attention to his glasses, which slipped off his nose and went irretrievably to the bottom of that lake. But if so, it would have been after his fishing attempt. I wanted to be where everyone else was, and unfortunately I wound up behind Doug when he was casting. And the line flew backwards, and the hook went straight through my top lip. I still bear a tiny scar. And in many ways, my brother is an enigma to me, and yet we are connected to each other like that fishing line. The last time I saw Doug was at my wedding in July. And a friend of mine took a video of Deborah and I doing our first dance, and there in the background is Doug. He's smiling, he's proud, and he's following our every move with his cell phone, recording video. Connected. I'm not sure I'll ever get to the depth of how much Doug has meant to me and how much he has formed me in showing me how to love, how to think, how to give. As much as I don't understand many aspects of Doug, what I do know is that I'm going to miss him forever.